If you are a long-term subscriber or a first-time viewer, consider purchasing your Christmas cards from my Etsy shop this year. You'll be supporting an artist who has put thousands of hours into hundreds of free tutorials rather than a huge corporation. As always, thank you for your likes, comments, and for viewing my videos every week. Hi everybody, and welcome to another watercolor tutorial. Today we're getting into the holiday Christmas spirit and we're going to be painting 2 watercolor gnomes. These can be used as Christmas cards or they can just be Christmas doodles, arts and crafts, whatever you would like. So let's get right into it. The first thing that I suggest doing is sketching out your gnomes. It's going to make the whole process a whole lot easier if you know where you are painting your hat and the body of the gnome and so on, but you are welcome to freehand it and just kind of follow along with the pattern that I'm painting on now. So anyways, we're going to be painting 2 gnomes here, and I'm just starting with the first one. I'm painting the hat of the gnome green, but you can choose whatever color you'd like. The hat, you obviously want to make it sort of like a triangular shaped hat, but you want to make sure that you add some waves to that triangular shape, just because typical gnomes have these bunchy looking triangular hats, and I think it just adds a lot of fun if you know, they're kind of wavy and curvy rather than just straight triangles. But again, it's your painting, so you can do whatever you'd like. I am going ahead and continuing on with the second gnome here, so I'm painting the hat of the second gnome, but this time I'm painting this gnome's hat sort of a maroonish red color. I wanted to stay in the theme of Christmas colors, which is why I'm doing the red and the green, but it's a lot easier to sort of start at the top, start with the hat, so you have sort of a base of what you're painting. But while your hats are drying, we can start moving on to painting the bodies of the gnomes. So basically you're just going to be filling in the entire body of the gnome with one solid color, making sure to leave the outlines of the gloves, the little feetsies, and the beard of the gnome. And this is why it's probably super handy to just, you know, trace out a rough shape of your gnome so you have an idea of where the feet, gloves, and beard are going to be. And I chose to paint the body of my first gnome red because the hat is green and I sort of wanted them to have opposite colors, but I'm sure it would look great if it was the same color as well, if you don't have a large color option or large color palette. But you want to make sure that you do that for both gnomes, so I went ahead and I painted the second gnome's body green, following the same sort of pattern, you know, making sure to leave the silhouettes of the feet, the gloves, and the beard. Once the bodies of your gnomes have completely dried, and this is super important because you want to prevent bleeding, you can go ahead and start filling in the gloves of the gnomes. So I'm just using a brown color here, and what I'm doing is I'm just outlining the glove, and then I'm dipping my paintbrush into water and taking the excess color out of my brush and then filling in the rest of the glove using the watercolor from the outline. And this sort of creates an illusion that it's more of a 3D glove because it kind of looks like the light is reflecting off of the glove because the middle portion is a little bit lighter. And we're going to be doing the same thing for the feet of the gnomes. This time I took brown with a little bit of black blended in because I wanted the gloves and the feet to have a slightly different color, and I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm outlining the feet, I'm dipping my paintbrush into water to take off the excess color, and then I'm blending the color from the outline towards the center to create a solid color, but at the same time it's creating sort of a highlight. And you guessed it, I did the exact same thing for the little cute button noses of the gnomes, using more of a nude color for the noses. Alright, so next we're going to move on to the beard, and what I did is I took a gray watercolor and I just outlined the border of the beard, and I also added some wavy lines coming from the bottom just to define the beard and make it look like there are tufts of hair. And I did the exact same thing as I did with the nose, the feet, and the gloves, where I outlined the beards, then I dipped my brush into water to take off the excess gray, and then I blended those lines using just water just to create a very subtle and gentle gradient so that the lines aren't super harsh. And you guessed it, by now the hats should be completely dry, so we can add the little puff balls at the end of the hats using the exact same technique. We're going to just paint on a little half moon, dip our paintbrush into the water to take off the excess color, and then blend the rest of the ball to create sort of a highlight on one side of the puff ball. Finally, we are going to finish off the hats by adding the little rim. I'm doing the same thing yet again, where I'm just outlining the bottom of the rim of the hat, and then I'm dipping my paintbrush into water, taking that excess color off, and just blending out that bottom portion so that there's a much more gentle transition, and it looks like there is light reflecting off of part of the rim. Finally, this is completely optional, but you can definitely add some more details to the clothing of your gnomes. So taking white watercolor paint is probably, white acrylic paint is the easiest thing to do because it's quite opaque. So I've just dotted the top of one of my gnome's hats. I added some lines to the other hat. You can add some dots and lines onto the clothing, whatever you prefer. You can experiment with this as many times or however you like. And that is basically it. We've got our two cute little gnomes. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and I will see you guys in next week's tutorial.